Toastmasters.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Tonight, as Gil mentioned, the name of my speech is Becoming a Person People Want to Follow. I remember hearing a story about Muhammad Ali. He was on a flight with a few of his, entourage, and they were going somewhere, across seas. And the flight hit some turbulence. And so, the flight attendants, they got over the air and said, everybody, could you please fasten your seatbelts? Now, when we're talking about Ali, his name is not mentioned in the same sentence as humility. And so everybody on the flight replied except Ali. And so the flight attendant came up to Ali and said to him, sir, can you please fasten your seatbelt? And you can only imagine in an Ali-like manner, he said, Superman don't need no seatbelt. But the flight attendant was really witty, and she said, Superman don't need an airplane either. And so becoming a person people want to follow is very important if we're to make an impact in this world. Regardless of what field you're in, your product will always be people. Because without people, your product, service, or the message you're trying to convey is pointless. The story of Ali reminds me of how many people spend their lives trying to be impressive and interesting when the key to developing a positive relationship and becoming a person people want to follow is to become impressed and interested. I'm no expert on relationships. I don't have a PhD in psychology and understanding the human mind and how it relates and dealing with people, but I do have experience. And experience tells me the people that I've shown the interest in the most were the people who were interested in what I was either doing or what I was saying. John Maxwell confirms these principles in his book, Relationships 101. He says, be more concerned about making others feel good about themselves than you are making them feel good about you. The purpose of my speech is not to instruct anyone on the topic of relationships. If anything, it's to show what I've learned in my few short years of tackling this topic of relationships, and the hope was to share what I've learned and how it has worked in the relationships that I currently have. There are 5 keys there's one area which has 5 different keys that we can use to develop and positive relationships and become a person people want to follow. John Maxwell says to treat every person as if he or she were the most important person in the world. And this is achieved by listening to other people. The ability to skillfully listen to other persons is key to building positive relationships. There are a few values that we can gain from developing listening skills that will help us to become the type of person people want to follow. The first one, listening shows respect. One of the key mistakes people often make is trying to impress other people with their accolades and all their accomplishments. This drives people away, especially those individuals who may not have the same level of success that you have. I remember I was talking with an individual who was trying to get me into some deal he was doing online. And from the moment we began talking, he started talking about how he was the #1 earner in his company, how he had the biggest team in the company. And by the end of the call, I even forgot the guy's name because I shut him off completely because I hardly had anything to say to him. By the end of the conversation, I probably said hello, and then at the end was goodbye. And so I made sure when I seen this number on my caller ID, I would ignore the phone call. The second thing listening does, it builds relationships. Dale Carnegie, author of How to Win Friends and Influence People, said, you can win more friends in 2 weeks by becoming a good listener than you can in 2 years by trying to get people interested in you. Listening opens up the opportunity for you to connect with people on a deeper level simply because you're meeting a need. People want somebody to talk to. They want somebody to listen. If you remember the movie with Tom Hanks and Castaway, he was a FedEx employee. I guess he was on some type of delivery, and the plane crashed and it landed on a deserted island. He was the only survivor, and after a few months, he started, getting, withdrawals of not having anybody to talk to. So there was a volleyball that he found on the airplane, and so he drew a face on the volleyball. He gave it a name, and for the I think he was on there for a few years. He named the volleyball. And he started talking to it because that was his daily companion. And so, that's just a prime example of how people need somebody to talk to, or need somebody for them to listen. Listen, even though the volleyball wasn't really, saying anything back to him, he just had somebody that he can, talk to, or something that he can talk to and have to listen. The third thing that listening does, it increases knowledge. There's a saying that live every day as if it were your last, and learn every day as if you were to live forever. It's incredible how much we can learn from our families, our friends, our co-workers, our organizations, and even ourselves when we decide to really listen to other people. We should always be careful of being in a position where we think we know it all. People who have identified themselves as experts tread the borderline of not allowing themselves to soak in more information. While it is true, the higher we increase in knowledge, the less we are required to listen to other people. But as our knowledge increases, so does our need to listen to others. The fourth thing listening does, it generates ideas. Brinker International, owner of Chili's on the border, Romano's Macaroni, and other restaurants say that 80% of its restaurants' menus have come from suggestions from management. Now, what's good for effective companies is also good for individuals. You'll never suffer for ideas when you're consistently listening to others. Listening allows people to contribute, to share their thoughts, and listen with an open mind. And so listen with an open mind and an open heart. In some cases, if the ideas you hear won't work, just listening will spark creative ideas in you and in others. The fifth thing listening does, it builds loyalty. Oftentimes we don't take time to listen to others oftentimes we don't take time to listen to others that will find somebody else who will. I remember recently a situation at work where it's happened more than once where I asked one of the trainers a question, and they would always point me back to a reference that I knew was there, that I went through the reference, but I needed some more clarity on it. And so he would always point me back to that. And now I'm reluctant to even approach him and ask any questions because of his lack of listening skills. However, this kind of thing happens in marriages, it happens amongst families, it happens on family and members. It happens when the value we place on a person isn't where it's supposed to be, and we end up losing trust and loyalty with that individual. I like to end on a quote. It's called The Paradoxical Commandments of Leadership. People are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. The biggest men with the biggest ideas can be shot down by the smallest men with the smallest minds. Think big anyway. People favor underdogs but follow only top dogs. Fight for a few dogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you do help them. Help them anyway. Give the world the best you have and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway.
Okay.